Welcome to Growth Formula. Success is not a coincidence. Success is a formula. Join our transformation journey and subscribe now.
In an era defined by the attention economy, where trillion-dollar industries are engineered specifically to hijack your neural pathways, the most radical act of rebellion is simply to pay attention. We are living through a silent pandemic of cognitive fragmentation. Daniel Goleman, the visionary who brought the world emotional intelligence, argues in his seminal work, Focus, the Hidden Driver of Excellence, that attention is not a resource we simply use, it is a mental muscle that defines the very boundary of our potential. If you cannot command your focus, you cannot command your life. You become a ghost in a machine built by others. To understand the growth formula, one must first understand the biological and psychological architecture of focus. It begins with the realization that your brain is a battlefield between two distinct systems of attention, the bottom-up and the top-down. The bottom-up system is ancient, involuntary, and incredibly fast. It is the part of your brain that jumps at a sudden noise or glances at a glowing notification. It is driven by short-term survival and immediate dopamine hits. In the modern world, this system is being exploited by algorithms that treat your mind like a slot machine. Most people spend 90% of their waking hours trapped in this bottom-up loop, reacting rather than acting, drifting rather than driving. This is what Goleman calls low-level distraction, and it is the primary reason why genius is becoming a rare commodity. When you are in a bottom-up state, your prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain, is effectively offline. You are a passenger in your own skull. Opposing this is the top-down system, the seat of the prefrontal cortex. This is the pinnacle of human evolution. It is slow, deliberate, and requires immense energy. This is the system that allows you to contemplate a complex philosophy, to build a business from nothing, and to say no to 1,000 distractions in favor of one singular grand purpose. Excellence is the direct result of the top-down system asserting dominance over the bottom-up impulses. Goleman reveals that the elite are not necessarily more intelligent, they simply have a stronger neural grip on their attention. They practice selective ignorance. They understand that in a world of infinite information, the only way to find meaning is to ignore almost everything. This is the first law of the formula. To grow, you must shrink your world to the vital few. You must become a master of the no. But Goleman takes us deeper into the triple focus framework. To reach the 1% level, you must balance three distinct dimensions of awareness. The first is inner focus. This is the capacity for metacognition, thinking about your thinking. It is the ability to monitor your internal states, to recognize when your emotions are beginning to cloud your judgment, and to align your actions with your deepest values. Without inner focus, you are a high-speed car with no steering wheel. You may be moving fast, but you are headed toward a cliff. This is where the concept of mindfulness enters the formula, not as a spiritual trend, but as a rigorous cognitive exercise to stabilize the mind's internal observer. The second dimension is other focus. This is the sophisticated art of empathy, not just feeling what others feel, but understanding the cognitive frameworks of the people around you. In the high-stakes world of leadership and negotiation, the person who can focus most intensely on the unspoken needs of others is the person who holds the power. This is social sensitivity, and it is the bridge between raw ambition and lasting impact. It requires a quiet mind to pick up on the micro-expressions and subtle shifts in tone that define human connection. If your mind is cluttered with your own internal chatter, you are effectively blind to the world of others. The third dimension is outer focus. This is the ability to perceive the macro systems that govern our reality, economics, technology, and global trends. Most people are system blind. They see the ripples, but never the tide. The master sees the tide. By integrating inner, other, and outer focus, you transform from a mere participant into a grand strategist of your own destiny. Goleman notes that those who lack outer focus are often blindsided by change, while those who master it are the ones who innovate before the world even knows it needs a solution. Consider the famous marshmallow test from Stanford University. Children were given a choice, 1 marshmallow now or 2 if they could wait for the researcher to return. Years later, those who waited showed significantly higher SAT scores, better health, and greater professional success. Why? Because they had mastered effortful control. They used their focus to distract themselves from the immediate temptation. They didn't just have willpower, they managed their attention to create willpower. This is the secret the world doesn't want you to know. Discipline is a byproduct of focused attention. If you can control where you look, you can control what you do. Goleman argues that we are currently raising a distracted generation that is losing the ability to read deep texts, to engage in complex conversations, and to solve systemic problems. The cost of this distraction is not just lost productivity, it is the erosion of the human spirit. To truly master the formula, you must treat your attention as your sanctuary. You must build walls around it. Deep work is not a luxury, it is a necessity for anyone who refuses to be average. Goleman points out that the brain's default mode network, the part that wanders when we are bored, is actually where creativity is born. But for most of us, this network is never allowed to activate because we fill every microsecond of boredom with a screen. We're starving our brains of the silence they need to synthesize new ideas. True focus requires periods of intense, laser-like concentration, followed by periods of absolute, disconnected rest. This is the rhythm of genius. It is a pulse. On, off, deep, shallow. The elite operate in this rhythm, while the masses live in a perpetual state of continuous partial attention, a gray zone where they are never fully present and never fully resting. The neurobiology of focus is also linked to the amygdala hijack. When we are stressed, our amygdala takes over, narrowing our focus to the immediate threat. While this saved our ancestors from predators, in 2026 it ruins our ability to think long-term. Goleman teaches that cognitive control is the antidote. By training our focus, we can dampen the amygdala's alarm and remain in the prefrontal cortex, the domain of logic and strategy. This is why the most successful people seem unnaturally calm in a crisis. They aren't devoid of fear, they are simply too focused on the solution to let the fear take the wheel. Success is not a coincidence. It is not about luck or even raw talent. It is about the science of excellence. It is about the hundreds of invisible choices you make every day to pull your mind back to center. Every time your phone vibrates and you choose to ignore it, you are performing a mental rep. You are strengthening the neural circuitry of focus. Over time, these small victories compound into a formidable power. You become the person who can stay calm in a crisis, the person who can see the solution when everyone else is blinded by panic, and the person who can execute a vision while others are still dreaming. The formula is clear. High performance equals focused intensity times time. There are no shortcuts, there are only deep dives. Daniel Goleman's message is a wake-up call to a world that is fast asleep at the wheel. The hidden driver of excellence is sitting right behind your eyes, waiting to be commanded. The masterclass of your life begins the moment you decide that your attention is no longer for sale. In the 21st century, the ability to focus is the ultimate competitive advantage. It is the filter through which all other skills are refined. Without it, your talent is a Ferrari with no gas. With it, you are an unstoppable force of nature. Stop drifting. Start driving. Master your focus. Join the elite. Solve the formula.